Notice that my thumbs are parallel versus if I stand like this, now my thumbs are inboard where my thumbs face each other. The thumbs should never face each other. This is where we're going to start to run into problems. What's going on, everybody? Hey, it's Hopper. We got another video. Got the Ultimate Warrior, got Brutus in the house. Everyone's here. We'll get it started. The topic for this video is the dangers of push-ups combined with technology. And push-ups will also be synonymous for any sort of exercise that requires the pectoralis major to be the prime mover. So such as a bench press or the pec deck or dumbbell incline presses, a regular incline bench press. And I actually don't know where to begin because I have so much to discuss with this topic. So first off, I see numerous gym members as they walk around through the gym and they do their chest exercises, their pec deck, their bench press, their push-ups. It is often accompanied by this individual grabbing their shoulder and kind of moving it around as if they are in some sort of discomfort, restriction, or pain. And I've seen it over and over again. And although correlation doesn't imply causation, the evidence of how often I see this kind of, my shoulder. Even the Instagram posts from Gym Fail Nation will often have a post that says, as soon as I start to bench press, then my left shoulder starts to flare up or my left shoulder gets aggravated. I'll see if I can find that and I'll post that right in through here. So this is a topic that we need to discuss. Pushing exercises combined with technology. We now live in a society where we are surrounded by technology with computers, laptops, tablets, phones. It's constant, it's ubiquitous. And we have started to become this generation that is collapsing inward constantly, where we have a forward head carriage, the shoulder blades are protracted forward, and over time, with this posture where we're collapsed in, the pectoralis major, the pec minor, the anterior delt, the subscapularis will start to become passively overactive as we sit continuously in these positions. Then the problem is most people will go to the gym and feel the desire to do the bench press, do the incline press, and do the push-ups, and all that does is it takes the tissues and it tightens them up even more. And the first thing that we need to focus on and understand is the difference between ideal posture and normal posture. So ideal posture is when we have the head that is back and the ears align with the shoulder, hips, knees, and ankles. And so you could essentially draw a line straight down from the ear through the shoulder, through the hip, through the knee, through the ankle, all the way down. So it's perpendicular to the floor. However, ideal posture versus normal posture has become this, where we are slumped forward, the shoulder blades protract, the head moves forward, and then we start to carry all sorts of tension and overactivity on the trapezius, the levator scapula, the list goes on. One of the static positions that we need to also avoid is what's called inboard thumbs. So if we stand regularly like this, you should notice that my thumbs are parallel versus if I stand like this, now my thumbs are inboard where my thumbs face each other. The thumbs should never face each other. This is where we're going to start to run into problems in the subscapularis and the pectoralis major and the anterior delt. With our static posture and the way we walk, we should always have the thumbs parallel. Those two drumsticks parallel to each other the entire time. In addition, as you can see in this chart that I'll put right here, I'll leave this chart up for a little while, and if anyone ever needs to reference it, of course, you can come back, hit pause, and look at everything, because this chart has quite a bit of information on it. It has dysfunctions, it has common injuries, it has pain, it has the overactive tissues, the underactive tissues. Of course, it has some pictures on it. I reference this chart regularly to discuss with clients the potential issues that can occur if we suffer from protraction in the shoulders and a forward head carriage. Now, this title is a little bit misleading because we don't necessarily need to full-on stop any pressing activities. What we do need to do is account for our daily environment and the activities that we do throughout the day. If our daily environment is seated at a desk and we continue to slouch and protract the shoulders, then of course we're going to run into problems. If then we go to the gym where we decide to do a fair amount of bench pressing, incline press, and push-ups, and we don't account for that, then we go from seated all day like this to tightening those tissues even more. Then the shoulders start to become even more pronounced forward and protracted, and we continue to run into problems to the point where we're at a high risk for shoulder injuries and then shoulder surgery. Then we'll need rehabilitation work, and it continues on. So to give a quick example with a graph, if we have XY axis, X, Y, and I talk about this concept fairly regularly when we look at torque. Torque's that force times radius. Force times radius. If we have someone that stands just like this right here, we notice that this straight line, we have a nice 90-degree angle. The moment that we start to protract and the shoulder comes forward, and if we were to stand like this with the head forward right here, then this line from that perpendicular point becomes the radius. So all of the weight of the head, the spine, and the shoulders combined with the force of gravity, that will be the amount of torque that's on our spine. And that does not account for the dysfunction of the actual muscle tissues. The muscle tissues need to always have adequate length tension relationships, where one muscle is not too tight and the other muscle isn't too loose. They need to have a nice even balance with each other. If one tissue, we'll call it the pectoralis major, is too overactive and it starts to pull the shoulder forward, then it inhibits the ability of the back muscles, the lats, the trapezius, the rhomboids to fire adequately. That tissue cannot release the way it needs to, and thereby it impedes on the rhomboids and the lats for the actin and myosin fibers to bind and contract, and it also impedes on the neural drive of that tissue. So we need to avoid, pardon me for a second, we need to avoid inboard thumbs at all costs. We often see this in bodybuilders, how they do so much chest exercises, and when they stand, the arms fall forward, as I demonstrated previously.
Hi.
Hi.
Tommy, scram. Don't give her the weight room thing.
You know where the weight room is? I'll check it out.
Sorry.
Idiot.
Again, keep those hands by the sides as if we have drumsticks, and those drumsticks are parallel.
Brother, can you hear it?
I just see this too often where it's usually men, I would say arguably in their early to mid 20s, how they do all these chest exercises and then they start walking around, they're tight, they're sore, and it's more than evident that they are starting to experience some dysfunction and some pain in that shoulder area. And all it's gonna do is get worse. So to compensate for the technology that we are surrounded by, as well as the activities that we do in the gym, we need to double, if not triple up on back exercises. As an example, any exercise that requires scapular retraction, such as a barbell row or any sort of rowing exercise that you could do on a cable machine. Another exercise that will help out tremendously is you can take a basic band just like this and focus on pulling the shoulder blades back and pulling the band across your chest, and doing this numerous times throughout the day. Another exercise is we could take the band like this and we can turn it palm up, and we can also pull the band part this way. This exercise will help more with the rotator cuff tissues, and this exercise with the hands prone will help more with the rhomboid major, minor, and the trapezius. Another reference point that we can use to gauge, we'll call it shoulder health, is the mobility of the arm. If an individual stands in this direction, and you can look at said individual laterally, if they raise that arm up, and let's say they stop right about here, where there starts to become an arch in the lower back, and there's obvious some sort of restriction in the anterior delt, then we've got some problems that we need to work on. What we really want is for the individual to be able to raise the arms or arm past this ear, so you can see the ear on the other side of the bicep without any excessive lower back arch.
Whoa, jeez.
We're real friendly around here.
So if an individual has a difficult time lifting the arm straight up over their head, then I would strongly suggest for a certain period of time, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, to avoid any sort of pressing and double and triple up on the band exercises, the rowing, and focus on how we stand throughout the day. I will say it for a third time. If we have inboard thumbs and we're just kind of standing there passively and not correctly, like Forrest Gump, like the way he sat on the bench when he was waiting for the bus, all upright and with his shoulder blades back.
Hello.
That's the posture that we need to focus on throughout the day. And keeping the head back as well. Again, if we're at a computer and we're here 6, 7, 8 hours a day, we're gonna run into more problems and we're gonna have a bad time. So understand this torque and our static posture, how we move throughout the day. Understand that the exercises that we do at the gym, if we're constantly pressing, doing the pec deck, doing the incline dumbbell presses, doing the overhead shoulder presses, we are placing so much stress and stimuli on the pectoralis major, the anterior delt, that it causes way too much pattern overload. And some of the people that I see at the gym, they're gonna blow their shoulders out within the next 6 months.
Get it. Oh, God. What's wrong? Shoulder.
So stop the push-ups, yes. I understand that that title is a bit misleading, but if we can account for the daily environment that we sit in, perhaps maybe use a stand-up desk, and occasionally get up, walk around, pull the shoulder blades back, do a fair amount of chest stretches as well, and add the rows, the cable rows, the external rotation like I showed with the band pull aparts, that will help out tremendously. We should not have as much shoulder dysfunction in our society as we do. Almost every client, including myself that I've worked with, has had some sort of shoulder dysfunction. And the common theme that I continue to notice is we need to loosen up the chest, the pectoralis major, the anterior delts, and strengthen up the rhomboidal tissues, the external rotation, which would be the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, and the teres minor, the posterior part of that rotator cuff, get those tissues stronger. And again, stand with those thumbs parallel to each other throughout the day. That will help us out tremendously. So that's it for this video. For those of you that have any questions, please feel free to put said questions in the comments below. Of course, all the usual internet nonsense, like the video, subscribe, share this content as well. For those of you that want to support the creation of this content, please feel free to visit the links below in the description to donate to the channel. And we will see you all next time.